A theodicy is intended to explain the existence of evil. They try to do it without giving up any of the properties of God. This is more than a defense because it sets out a reason for allowing evil. Hick's soul-making theodicy is one of the more important attempts in recent decades, getting enough respect to be discussed still. He said that God deliberately made an imperfect world so that the experience of suffering could make us better suited for a relationship with God after death. We would acquire virtue and become spiritually mature as a result of the suffering. It's character building. There's suffering in it, and there is also divine hiddenness. God keeps his distance so that we are not coerced into belief and a relationship, but freely choose it. Hick asks us to imagine the alternative, a hedonic paradise where no one suffers. Well, there's also no distinction between right and wrong, and no moral qualities like generosity, kindness, courage, and love. One problem with this account is that pain and suffering are indiscriminate. They get dished out regardless of whether we're spiritually mature or not. Plague, influenza pandemics, landslides, eruptions, hurricanes, they fall on everyone around. And they also afflict people incapable of learning. Babies born with such severe impairments that all they will ever know is suffering and early death, never comprehending anything. Animals suffer, often from the same things that humans do, but they can't turn to God any more than babies can. And yet the purpose of suffering is meant to be to bring us into relationship with God. Suffering tends to be disproportionate. A broken leg might be all that is needed to have the educational experience from suffering, but people get cancer and die in agony. In spite of medicine's best efforts, we still can't alleviate all the pain that solid tumours bring as they spread. And it matters because people break. God is taking terrible risks with them. Because instead of turning to him, they fall away, embittered, thinking God doesn't exist or doesn't care, or he would never allow such pain. And the reason for this sense of abandonment is divine hiddenness. The flip side of religious experience of God is experience of God's absence. It's common enough to have its own name, the dark night of the soul. Mother Teresa of Calcutta was afflicted by it for years. It happens when people call out to God and seek him over and over again and have no sense of his presence. In fact, they feel that he's not there. If God is meant to love us as parents love their children, and Hick does use the parental metaphor, then leaving us at the time of greatest need or never responding to our calls suggests a rather bad parent. The great risk with a theodicy is that God comes out of it as a moral monster. Hick in the end falls back on mystery. This suggests that the theodicy has failed as a theodicy. It doesn't explain what it sets out to explain.